welcome back again to my fourth lesson for my workshop series for the Professors for the Future program, titled Pretty Pictures. And today we're going to dive deep into the framework so that way you can try to use these tools and some of the things that you've learned to develop your own image for your research. And so we'll go through some step-by-step aspects of this, and hopefully by then you'll be able to begin thinking about how to use some of these programs. Maybe think about the image that you want to use, as well as evaluating the time that you might need to develop these images. So let's dive right in. Our learning objectives for today: participants will outline the research and image/message that they want to convey. They will list several programs for image manipulation and vector graphics specifically for those two purposes, and then they'll evaluate their needs for their image and pair that with the program. So kind of putting it all together is what this session will help the students come away with. So usually an image comes up with an idea, and I always go through these questions. I'm like, do I need an image to show this? And usually the answer is always yes, because there's a lot of complexity in the things that we do when we do give a presentation. And then I ask myself, is there another way that image exists? And the answer for that question usually no. So this causes a lot of distress because I don't always have the time or the capability to make images, but no one else makes the images that I usually want. And if they do, they always have something that might be a little bit, might not be particularly good. So then I have to kind of reframe these two questions into a different format, and I have to kind of think instead of do I need an image to show this, I really should think, is it important for me? And like that keyword, is it important for me to have that image? And then if there's another image that exists already, can I reuse an image that exists? The keyword on reuse, because we do not want to create more work for ourselves. But reframing those questions a little bit more might help, because this could make us bog down and go into kind of this cycle of always thinking that we, have to create our own images. So specific workflow that I have in mind and that I use always begins with, what is my research question? So I want to answer this. What is my question, and that I want to convey? This could apply to any. Excuse me. This could apply to any development process. But really, what I want to think about what my research question is, I spend some time thinking, and then once I spend enough time thinking what my research question is, or whatever research image is that I want to convey, I come up with this question, and if there's an image that I have in mind. And so here is the direct keywords. Am I gonna spend time to come up with an image? And if the answer is no, do I have an image in mind? Do I think more? Yes, I should think some more, so that way I can think my research question, and this kind of this iterative process where I'm going back and forth between this. What is my question? Is there an image? Do I want to think some more? Yes, no, and I keep going and going and going. Now, if I get tired, I could just stop thinking and take a coffee break, because those can be helpful. Just step away from your work, think a little bit more clearly, can help. However, if I go back to this idea, is there an image in my mind? Do I have something that I want to convey about my research question to the image? If I have that in mind, like say I'm thinking about it, I have a yes. I'm like, this is kind of back to the goal. Do I have an image? Yes, fantastic. I have an image that I want to convey. Will this help me if I cannot reuse an image, or I can reuse an image? And so this is where you have to make a determination whether someone has created something in a journal article, you yourself have already done something. Keyword on reusing that image, because we want to make sure that we're not replicating time. And fantastic. If we can reuse an image from somewhere, we're done. That's it. It's over. We don't have to move on and try to make things very challenging. We can just think of a research question. Do we have any research question in mind, and can we reuse it? And we're finished. And that process, the further you get into your research, the more that you will use this tree here. And as you can see in presentations that a lot of advisors give, as time goes on, you can see that they've used this. Now, there's an off chance that there isn't going to be an image because your research is novel, or the images that you have don't display your new pathway or your new theoretical framework, or they don't display the specific sub system that you're studying, so you're going to end up in this red zone. So that's going to be challenging, because then we're going to have to figure out, can I create this image? And so, yes, the answer is always yes. You can always create an image. The technology is out there. That's what we're going to talk about. But there should always be a yes in quotes. We should have a yes, because once you have an idea to create that image, we're done. All we have to do is actually do it. So again, this is in quotes here. If the answer is no, I cannot create this image, then we have to kind of go back into thinking and think, is this essential to my research question? Well, then yes, we're back here. We have to create the image if this is essential. If you cannot create this image, we have to figure out a way to create it. And this right here is kind of where I think many people end up being. PIs normally have a research question. They have an image in mind. They already have someone that created them, an image for them, and they're done. Now, of course, you do a lot more than that, but in the perspective of creating an image, they don't have to redo this work. Grad students that spend a lot of thinking about using images, they follow this route here, where they're kind of creating images as they go. This is also with data generation, graphs, diagrams, etc. But the majority of grad students fall into this category where they don't have the tools to be able to create that image, but it's essential to the research question if they want to be good communicators. Now, if it's not essential to the research question, we have a different problem. We have to think some more. And if we want to think some more again, we come back up here and we repeat the process. However, if we don't want to think anymore, then it's definitely time for coffee. The purpose of this workshop series and a lot of these tutorials are specifically around these 3 yes scenarios to get us to this point of being done. And we want to be done with the image creation process because we want to be able to practice. We want to convey our information. We want to be able to write the paper. But this is where most grad students find themselves, is wanting to be in the done category. But unfortunately, we sometimes spend going down to this area of not knowing how to create an image. But it's essential, and therefore we have to kind of learn these programs if it's necessary. So yeah, these are the scenarios that we're going to talk about on these lessons. And so that's exactly what the goal is. However, in all of this, there isn't an indication of how long the coffee break was or how long this process of thinking took. And so now we have to think about evaluating our time. And in evaluating our time, there's essentially 2 broad categories. It's going to be a matrix. I don't want to learn a new program, or I do want to learn a new program. And there's an in-between, of course, of being able to repurpose a program, but we have to evaluate our time. And so if you don't want to learn a new program, or you want a new program, regardless, you have to think about the time. So if you have no time, use Microsoft PowerPoint. You already know how to use it. Chances are that you're using it already. But if you want to learn a program and you don't have the time, then don't procrastinate. You don't need to procrastinate. But if you do, try Inkscape. Inkscape is a great vector tool creation image program that we're going to go into. But you shouldn't procrastinate if you don't have any time. So just start using PowerPoint. It's not a bad alternative. You have some time, maybe you should stick to where you already know and use PowerPoint. If you do have some time, there is no reason why to not use PowerPoint if the image is easy to create, it doesn't require a lot of time, and it's just a quick and dirty image. However, if you do have some time and you want to learn a program, then you can use a beginner program, Inkscape for vector graphics or Qitra for a quick sketch. You can start using some of these programs that we'll describe. Now, you have all the time in the world. Don't procrastinate, keep going. If you know PowerPoint, use it. But now that you have a lot of time, you can consider all of these programs, the Inkscape, GIMP, and Qitra. If you have access to Adobe Creative Cloud, then try the workflow that we described in the lesson. So consider using that for our image creation. But I'm going to take a little pause here and talk about our productivity, and specifically show you a little graphic. This graph here I showed earlier, but we couldn't read what it was, has two axes. On this axis, it's time, and on this axis is productivity. And the red line is using the same inefficient tool, whereas the green line is using the tool for the job. And so what do I mean by these two different lines? This was how I used to be with Adobe Photoshop. I was using the same tool because I knew how to use it, but it wasn't meant to create vector graphics. And so I always thought that, oh, I know this tool, my productivity is going to be high with this. Ooh, a nice trick. I learned how to do this trick. And then it kind of evens out. So essentially the amount of time that I think that I'm gaining is actually only oscillating by how better I get at using the tool, and making it work for what I needed to do, but not necessarily helping me with the actual task at hand. Now, using the tool for the job, I start at time 0, and I may have a huge disparity between what I know and don't know how to do with the tool, like say even open it, compared to what I already know. But I will learn, and the productivity will increase, but that doesn't mean that I will ever get to the same level of comfort with the tool that I already know, unless I hit that point where like, oh, this is why it's done that way. This is exactly why we use Illustrator for vector images. It's for this reason, and that's when the productivity gains occur. And so this averaging out difference essentially gains me in productivity in the long run because I'm using the tool for the job. And the point of this slide is to don't be afraid to abandon the programs. Don't be afraid to abandon programs that don't work for you anymore. I did that a lot with Photoshop, and I've suffered a lot for that. So just a kind of for completion, looking at the tools. Here's a little matrix that I have for complexity of an image and slash difficulty for different type of images. So first, if we're going to do a drawing, the definitely the easier is just pen and paper and scan. Take an image, take a picture of it, scan it. Vector images, you can code SVGs. Let's not do that, but you can, and that's relatively easier for some people. Doing image manipulations, you can do iPhone filters or Instagram. You don't need to worry about programs anymore. You do them really quickly. A lot of people use this on a daily basis. They're easy to use and friendly. If you're going to be doing text-heavy things, Microsoft Word and PowerPoint are your friend. Even text files. There's this whole section on graphing and plotting, and this is where I'm going to suggest you go learn to write some code. This is not the purpose of these sessions, but this is what essentially it would be useful for. Now we want to get into more complexity of harder things. Drawing on a tablet is a little bit more expensive, a little bit harder if you need to draw. I personally can't draw, so that's a difficult area for me. For vector images, again, it's more expensive. Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign are essentially the 3 professional standards. They're harder to use and they're more expensive, but they're the right tools for the job. And if we're looking at free alternatives, which is all of this section here, is what we're going to be talking about for the remainder of the tutorials that we will be doing. But what I would be remiss before we jump into the tutorial section of how to use these programs if I didn't mention one important part. And it's always about time. So this PhD comic essentially is how we view our time. This is from actual research from back in 1999. Professors spend a lot of time teaching, doing little time doing surface and research, but majority of the job is done teaching. And we need to figure out in this 18% slice how to be more effective with that, and so just be cautious of how you use your time. Or we just really would like to not be told what to do. But anyways, I hope these lessons helped somewhat, and feel free to access them as you wish and read the lessons online. But now we will move into the how-to tutorial sections of this workshop series. Thank you.